Hey everyone, Rogue Gold here, and today I've got something pretty interesting that I want to discuss regarding the Division Heartland. It actually involves a highly popular request that I've seen petitioned for the Division 3 even many times before, but today I want to propose how I think it would actually be pretty cool and a really smart implementation into the Division Heartland, giving us something really cool to look forward to with the game. Now, this is going to serve as like a pseudo part 2 to my most recent Heartland video from a few days back, but only in the sense that I'm going to dive into Heartland's potential post-launch content, which was something I touched on in that video. So if you want to go check it out first, it certainly wouldn't hurt. I'll link it up on screen in the upper corner right now if you care to, but you're probably fine either way. So what am I talking about here? Well, a seemingly unending argument amongst the Division community is which game had the better setting, Div 1 or Div 2. I would say that the majority of people preferred the snowy wintertime Manhattan in Division 1, but I've seen arguments made for summertime DC in Division 2 as well. But another overarching question I've seen asked is, can future locations in Division projects ever be as popular or as successful as the Division 1's was? Because the notion is that it's almost disadvantageous to market a Division experience without snow, which is unfortunate because as much as I adore Division 1 setting, I still want to see other locations and seasons portrayed in these games. And given a certain leaked artwork that everyone saw for Heartland, I'm very excited to see what new settings and seasons Heartland may be bringing us. So, is there any solution to this issue? Indeed there is, my friends, indeed there is. At least at the conceptual level. Obviously, from an outside perspective, I don't think there's very many of us who can accurately describe or even understand how hard or not something may be to code into a game. But in theory, this system that, like I said, many people have suggested many times for the Division 3, I think could potentially fit very well into the Division Heartland. And that is the proposal of a rotating season system to be implemented into a Division game. Meaning that, again, in theory, the season being portrayed in-game, summer, fall, winter, and spring, would at least somewhat coincide with the current season in real life, accurate to wherever the game is located, which we know in Heartland's case is the American Heartland, so roughly the Midwest-ish. And in many ways, while I've always thought the proposal of such a system sounded interesting and a worthy pursuit on the dev's end, I think it might actually make even more sense to adopt in Heartland rather than something like the Division 3. Certainly that doesn't mean it couldn't happen there as well, or that I wouldn't want it, but it might be a more natural adoption in a game like Heartland, and let me explain what I mean by that. This is kind of where the part 2 of that video comes from my one a few days ago. It's a sensible and fair conclusion to assume that Heartland, given its free-to-play and PvP developer background, that the game will receive post-launch content and support similar to other popular free-to-play titles on the market right now. Games like Warzone, Apex, Fortnite, PUBG is now free-to-play, and what you see in those games are continual updates and changes not just to the game's character, gear, and weapon roster to keep things fresh over time, but to their environments and settings as well. Typically, there are two approaches to this. One is that you might see some map changes over time, but new maps are then added in addition to the original one and get added to a map rotation. PUBG does this the most, I believe, but Apex has like 4 maps now, I think. And Warzone was a bit of a hybrid where they did update Verdansk for like 18 months, but they do now finally have a new map. On the other hand, you have something like Fortnite, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a Fortnite expert by any stretch of the imagination, but they've primarily over the years kept the same bones of their first map, but just continue to update and evolve different regions of it to make it feel new. I think that's what they do. And regardless of whether or not they implement this proposed rotating season system or not, I think this is likely the path that Red Storm will head down. Because in the context of the Division, the two games we have are heavily focused and centered around their locations and cities. The setting is a main character of the Division games, and so I fully expect Heartland's specific location, wherever that ends up being, to be integral to the game's identity and marketing. And so while I don't see them adding in new maps and locations over time, at least not in the same way that I think some of these other free-to-play titles do, I could absolutely see them evolving the same map over time. Maybe some areas get damaged or destroyed from in-game events, maybe there's an intense natural takeover of a previously urban area, or maybe the season continually changes over time, evolving the map as we play. This is exactly why I think this proposed system would work so well in Heartland's context. the type of game that it is, free-to-play is known for their continual updates. The Division brand constantly struggles between introducing new environments and seasons, as well as the desire to return to the unbeatable setting of the first game. So why not use the problem to create the solution? Imagine if we end up getting, the common free-to-play post-launch strategy and monetization structure with seasons 1, 2, 3, etc., and their associated battle passes or whatever. And along with new cosmetics, weapon, gear, gameplay stuff, and general content, they changed the game's location's season accordingly. So entirely for example's sake, this isn't a prediction on a release or anything, but let's say that the game launches in the summer. It's summer in the game, and then Season 1 drops in early September. Bam, the map is suddenly evolved in the beautiful colors of fall. And then Season 2 is in December. Now there's snow everywhere. It's what people have wanted to return to for so long. And then Season 3 is in March. It's spring. The snow is melting and the bright greens are coming back out. You guys get the idea. I just think that this would be such a smart solution to so many different issues. How do you please the plethora of people who only want Division 1 setting back, but as well as those who want something, a change once in a while? Rotate the seasons. How do you adopt the ever-changing map strategy of so many other free-to-play games in the Division world, where things are supposed to be a little bit more realistic? Just change the season. And they could still absolutely do map evolutions, like certain regions changing, in the map one at a time to spice things up, or even adding new interiors or depths to existing areas. But to warrant, a Season 1 map update, giving the map an entire facelift of a new season each time would be pretty awesome. And I think, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, I'm in no way an expert of the Midwest and the American Heartland, but I think that they get pretty drastic seasons throughout the year, meaning hot summers, cold winters, and big swings in between. Again, I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. And so if then implementing a system like this would be totally in line with the Division's realistic representation of our real world instead of just a, cool gameplay system. And if nothing else, I simply think that a system like this would really help Heartland feel like an ever-evolving game, which in my mind is a pretty crucial component for a free-to-play game to have. Both Division 1 and 2, as masterfully as they're crafted and as wonderful as they are, they can feel a little stuck in time sometimes when you're playing 2.5 years later and everything looks the exact same as the day you first saw it. And that's because the devs spend so much time adding in that painstaking detail to make the world feel so immersive. And so with Heartland being a bit of a smaller scale, and I think that's pretty easily inferable by its smaller team and shorter development window as compared to the Division 1 and 2, I would hope that there's enough flexibility there to allow for the world to evolve over time, in order for the game to compete with what will soon be its mega successful competitors in the same genre. And like I said, just because I'm petitioning for the system to be implemented into the Division Heartland, that certainly doesn't mean it couldn't then be adopted into the Division 3 or other future Division projects. It would really depend, for me personally at least, because like I said, it's clear how hard the devs work to add in the level of detail to the game that they do. And so if rotating seasons would somehow compromise that detail or immersion, then I might opt to stick with our current system. Even though I said that it can be, sometimes you feel like you're stuck in time, I think that that's a worthy sacrifice in order to sustain the title series specialness. But because Heartland is such a departure from that formula, I think it could be the perfect candidate for some experimentation that I truly believe could pay off big time. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on to be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts on the idea of a rotating season system being implemented into the Division Heartland. Were you someone who's thought of or suggested this for Division 3 in the past? Do you think it could apply here in Heartland? And what do you think of my conclusion that it would align pretty perfectly with the free-to-play genre? Leave those thoughts and anything else you've got down below. You all know that I'm more than thrilled to chat anything Division, especially Heartland. Counting the days on the unknown timer until we can talk about it, really. It's going to be so exciting. That's going to do it for me today, though, everybody. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, row gold. Out.